Not for nothing, I'm really starting to realize you can't talk about intelligent shit with non-intelligent people. I'm gonna be honest, I just feel like a lot of people are gullible as fuck nowadays. Like, y'all literally believe anything, bro. Like, it's sickening at this point. It's really sickening. And this is why I say I can't just date anybody because, yo, people have low attention spans, no critical thinking or common sense. It's just like, what the fuck is going on up there? Ring-a-ding-ding. Hello. Like, for real, have y'all ever had a conversation with somebody and you just looking at them like, yo, you're really this slow? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I find so funny? A person would say, oh, this isn't right, and then when you show them the proof, they'll still be saying this isn't right. It's like, my nigga, like, are you this dumb, gullible, stupid? What else? Like, no funny shit, a motherfucker will make you feel like you're dumb as fuck when they can't even comprehend what you're asking.
That part.
Like, no funny shit, I've really had to come to the realization that it's not you, it's them. Literally. They're slow. Motherfuckers got you questioning yourself because they can't even comprehend what you asking. Come on, bitch.
Every time that I post, damn, the party not lit, then I'd rather not go. If she feeling hot, then I make that bitch frozen. I get a bitch tired every time that I post.
Welcome back, friend, and thank you for tuning in with me. So, as you can see by the title of this video, we will be discussing anti-intellectualism. Friend, let's get into it. Grab your blunt, grab your drinky drink, grab whatever you need to tune in with me. Let's go.
Are you an anti-intellectual? Probably just answered no, and you might not realize that you might be. I'm not judging you because sometimes we just default to these thinking patterns. As someone who's on this app to do a lot of art and media analysis, a really good example of an anti-intellectual is someone who has hostility towards art, science, and literature and dismiss the topics as impractical and useless and meaningless. So a lot of the times you might see someone dissect a movie, for example, and you'll be like, it's just a cartoon, like it's not that deep. That's an example of an anti-intellectual comment because you've just dismissed the analysis of art. Or another example that I've also experienced is when you describe a plot, you get a lot of comments saying, well, that's a very obvious plot. That stems from the belief that that analysis is unnecessary because it's too redundant. But this perspective ignores that analysis provides valuable insight into the deeper meaning of the work, even if it does seem straightforward to you. It automatically assumes that everyone else has the same perspective as you. It assumes that intellectual pursuits are only valuable when they uncover complex meanings, rather than recognizing the inherent value of critical thinking and analysis in their own rights.
Anti-intellectualism got a grip on this country. Nothing is deep. Critical thinkers are the problem. Research is fake. History is irrelevant. Everything's a joke to the point where fascists can get to the highest seat in the land if they entertaining enough. It's bleak here. Period. Period. These folks then literally stigmatize critical thinking to the point that if you doing it outside of the norm, race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, then you the problem. You the one that's being the party pooper. It goes a point in case. The whole concept of being woke has its origins in black intellectual spaces. However, we see it's been bastardized to the point that, hey man, you acting like you're conscious or aware in any way, shape, form, or fashion is like, oh, the woke police is here. Then y'all be so lost in the sauce of linguistics and language. Let me say a word that got 2 or 3 syllables in it and y'all lose y'all mind because it's too intellectual. Any type of research or perspective that sees this country outside of the founding settlers, oh, that's bad. That's dividing America. The midterms would be entertaining though, I guess, huh?
I remember a while ago, this girl asked the internet, what is math? Like, did we just make that up? Does it even exist? How do we know that it exists? And what is it? Did it always exist or did we just discover it? How does that work? Everyone jumped on this girl. Like, they were on her neck for like a couple days. They were like, oh my God, what a stupid question. Or people were just like laughing at her. They were like, you really asked this? No one was answering the question. They were just making fun of her. And they were like, I would never ask a question as stupid as this. But then physicists and astrophysicists came to her rescue. They were like, actually, this is a great question. This is probably one of the greatest questions I've ever seen. It turned into this huge discussion between physicists and astrophysicists. And one of them was like, the irony here is everyone's calling her dumb, but one way that I gauge if someone has traits of intelligence is if they ask questions. And the people who don't ask questions aren't really interested in learning much more. They were like, one way I can tell that someone doesn't ask questions is they try to shame the person who does ask questions because they get insecure about it. They answered the question, but I forgot the answer to it. I just remember a bunch of physicists and astrophysicists came to her rescue and they were like, this is a really good question. Good for you.
Oh my God, finally. My main philosophy in life is that no one's asking enough questions. There is no such thing as a dumb question. And I can always almost guarantee you're not asking the right questions, but keep asking questions and the right question will come up. But I stand by the fact that the dumbest people that I know are the ones who never ask any questions and then actually hate to be asked questions because somebody told them that asking questions was annoying or dumb, or that the person that's asking questions is looking for something deeper than just the answer to the question. But being genuinely curious, it just puts you in a space where you kind of know more things. Therefore, you can't be dumb.
I remember a while ago, this girl asked the internet, what is math? Like, did we just...
The premise of this video is this creator summarizes an instance where a girl got on TikTok and basically asked, what is math? Where did it come from? How do we know it actually exists? Da, da, da. And everybody on TikTok, everybody on Twitter cooked her. I mean, broiled her at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And it wasn't until a bunch of like physicists and astrophysicists jumped in and were like, you know what, this is actually a really great question. And so this creator says the way that she judges whether or not people are intelligent is if they ask questions. Another creator stitched this creator's video and said that they were a philosophy major and Gemini, so they're always asking questions like this and how you should be programmed to also question everything and not accept things for how they are. And this reminds me a lot of the monkey ladder experiment, where 4 monkeys are lined up and there's a ladder in front of them, and atop the ladder are a bunch of bananas hanging from above. When the first monkey goes up to try to climb the ladder to get the bananas, the 3 other monkeys are sprayed with freezing cold water. So what do the monkeys do? Out of rage, they attack this monkey that's trying to go get the bananas, and that monkey falls back in line. Then the second monkey is like, okay, let me try, goes to try to get the bananas. The monkeys are sprayed with freezing cold water. They attack this monkey. That monkey falls back in line. So at this point, these monkeys know nobody's going up there to try to get those bananas. So one of the 4 monkeys is kicked out and a new monkey comes in. This new monkey has never once been sprayed with cold water. So when that monkey, of course, goes and tries to climb the ladder to get the bananas, all these other 3 monkeys are like, absolutely not. They beat him up and that monkey falls back in line. They keep kicking monkeys out until finally it's 4 new monkeys, okay? And when one of them tries to go and, grab the bananas, all the other monkeys, these monkeys who have never been sprayed with water and have no idea that this consequence is even coming, start beating up this new monkey because they know when I tried to do it, I got beat up. And this experiment really just goes to show how society and institutions will brainwash you and indoctrinate you from birth into believing that things are just the way they are. So much so that you don't even question. You've never seen the consequence. You have no idea what could even really actually happen to you. You have no idea what the implications are of trying to even conceive something new, and you will get punished. So when people really ask things like, why does inflation exist? Why can't everyone just have healthcare? Why, what else? Why do we have to work 9 to 5? Why are there 5-day work weeks? Why can't it just be 4? These are not obvious questions. We have just been indoctrinated since literal birth to believe that this is normal, and doing anything otherwise, including questioning it, will get you punished and beat the fuck up, literally or metaphorically. And so that's why you can't really just assume anything to just be fact, okay? This is like post-structuralism 101, right? There is no universal truth. There's only what you've been told and what's been regurgitated to you since the beginning of time. So all of that to say, adopt. You may not have any Gemini in your chart. You may not be a philosophy major. You may not even be like the most academic person, but that doesn't mean that you should just accept things as they come, as they're fed to you. Question things, question people, even if it's authority. These motherfuckers that are higher up than us in the government or in your institutions, they don't really know that much more than you do, honestly. Like, question things until you actually get an answer that suffices, You know, as long as you know you're not intending to harm anybody or harm yourself, question things until you get an answer that makes sense, and you'll find more often than not that a lot of this shit just doesn't make sense. It's just been the status quo for that long.
It's starting to scare me how many people lack critical thinking skills and comprehension skills. And I didn't really realize how much of a problem this was until I downloaded the app TikTok. And I'm not saying that to, put down people on TikTok. I'm just noticing that a lot of people truly are struggling to comprehend information and to develop critical thinking skills. And they get in the comments section and they say things and make assumptions that if they had critical thinking skills and comprehension skills, they wouldn't say. And it honestly scares me because it's starting to become the normal to lack these things rather than to have these things. And I think that it's creating a passive consumer, and it's making a society that's not bothering to question systems of oppression, to question ideas, to question what we watch and what we consume on television and in media. And it's a little alarming. It's a little scary.
I think that the Black community has an anti-intellectual issue. Actually, I disagree with that entirely and think it's dangerous to pose it as such. Oh, are you back to doing the bit where you say all of your points as like a skit between two characters so that people pay attention? Yeah, I don't understand why, but it holds people's attentions better. Okay, cool. Well, why do you disagree with me? Well, posing it as an issue of anti-intellectualism makes it seem as if individuals within the Black community are all choosing to be against intellectualism. Okay. And the real issue is that our school systems are still incredibly segregated in a way that harms Black people. What do you mean? We have Brown v. Board of Education. Well, due to the way that we fund public schools, a lot of which comes from property taxes, schools in nicer neighborhoods just have more resources to spend on the student. Some schools are pretty diverse. Yes, but even in more diverse schools, the education tracks themselves tend to be more segregated, with donors being allowed to choose what programs their money goes to. Oh, there's a really interesting podcast called Nice White Parents about the New York school system that's really worth listening to. Hey man, isn't it your birthday? Yeah. Why are you doing this right now? Oh, I guess I haven't done anything today. Oh. Huh.
I've been analyzing films and books and all kinds of media on my page for like 2 years now. So I get a lot of comments that are saying that like, oh, like you're reaching all the time, or like I'm not reading all of that. And I don't really care that much. The ones that I really do agree coincide with this comment are the patronizing, condescending ones. And I think that it's a lot more ego driven. I think it has a lot to do with ego. So basically they want to assert intellectual superiority. If you explain symbolism and themes in a movie, for example, and then you get comments like this, like, well, did you know that the name Babylon was associated to religious themes? Patronizing attitudes and beliefs, those kinds of attitudes are what discourages others from participating in having the belief system that everyone understands what you understand, and then in turn belittling others because they didn't understand what you understood right away. It shows hostility towards others trying to learn and trying to critically think, and it's all for what? Like it's all just to feel good about yourself. Like you're building yourself up by putting others down. But I've been doing this for so long, so it doesn't really affect me, but I don't want others to feel discouraged. I've gotten a lot of questions before in my messages. People ask me for advice about this because they're nervous to put their ideas out there. My advice is that just keep putting your ideas out there and your interpretations, and you're just going to keep getting better, and there's nothing wrong with some inconsequential controversy.
People outside of the United States, particularly in Europe or other Western countries, tend to wonder why the United States is so deeply anti-intellectual, so undereducated. It's because our educational system was designed to cater to the elite. It was never something that working class people were ever supposed to have equal access to. Public schools in the United States are funded by property taxes. That in and of itself creates an elitist system where people with more money, their children, will be better educated than the children of people who do not have a lot of money. Public universities are free in most of the Western world. We are one of the few Western countries where public education is not free. We do not prioritize educating non-elites. Our whole system is built on maintaining this hierarchy in education, and it ensures that the electorate is much easier to manipulate.
So I taught them to think. And if you could present a valid argument and change my mind, this is before I was even an attorney. In my 20s, I wanted to be a good mom so bad.
I understand that.
But in my 20s, I would say, if you can argue for it, you can present a valid argument, I'll change my mind.
Yeah.
And so if I would say no, they would say, can I argue for it? And I say, absolutely. So they would know, they would have their argument ready. And 100% of the time they win. 100 because they thought it through.
Absolutely.
And so now no one can get over on my children. It's wild. Even my husband's like, those kids are going to think it through. They think everything, are such critical thinkers.
One of my biggest pet peeves, trying to have a deep intellectual conversation and not being able to. My neurodivergent brain needs constant stimulation, and if I'm not getting that, I get bored. So what are we doing? I probably talk to myself more than I talk to anybody else, and I'm okay with that. But it would be nice to be able to have a deep intellectual conversation with a human. That would be great. But I just don't seem to come across that in my city. Deep thinkers can hold a conversation, can get intellectual with it, can understand what you're saying because they are intellectuals. So I know there are people out there like that. It's just I haven't came across many. So that's what inspired me to make this video. On that note, I'm in the video right here, friend. If you enjoy this type of content, like the video. If you fuck with my vibe, subscribe. But until next time, friend. Bye.
Every time that I post, damn, the party not lit, then I'd rather not go. If she feeling hot, then I make that bitch frozen. I get a bitch tired every time that I post, damn.